Hey guys, Rachel Brenke from TheLawTog, and I wanted to share a little bit with you about the legal client timeline for being a senior photographer or obviously shooting portraits for seniors. Whether it's your niche or not, we need to talk about the important contracts that you need to have in play in order to protect yourself, your business, and also protect your clients. The goal with all of these legal documents that I'm going to talk about is to protect, but it's also to set expectations so that you and the client both know what each other is responsible for, what's going to happen, and also give you some legal structure to the relationship that you're going to have so that if something should go awry, which we hope it won't, this will govern it for you. We're going to start at the very beginning. This is before the client gets booked. This is the document that gets the client booked. Actually, this is before you ever photograph, shoot, anything at all. It should be an adult that is signing the senior portrait photography contract, the main document to get you guys created into a legal relationship, you and the client, an adult client. All right. And then we're going to talk all the way through the very end after the shoot, all these other documents that you need to have. And I also have a third-party bonus one that we need to discuss as well. The good news for you guys is that in this chronological fashion, it should be fairly easy to understand, but it's also in priority order. Woohoo! So you don't have to figure out which document needs to come first or which one is most important. I'm giving it to you right now. The first document is the one I just mentioned a second ago. That is the senior portrait photography contract. This is the one that actually creates the legal relationship between you, the photographer, and the client. It's going to govern things like retainer, payment, cancellation, rescheduling, late arrivals, adult presence requirement or not on a session, completion schedule, yearbook, senior event deadlines, and so on and so forth. There's a whole long listing that you can check out. But it's going to govern the relationship in a chronological format, much like how I am displaying it to you guys now, within the document, so it's easy for your clients to understand, sets out that framework, sets out that expectations, and creates that document and that relationship that is going to be governed by that document together. This is the one document, the one contract, the one legal form, whatever you want to call it here, because these are all contractual legal documents that we're going over. This is the one non-negotiable that you guys should not shoot without. I always say you can shoot without a model release, which we're going to talk about later, and you'll see why, but you should never shoot or photograph without a contract, and that's the senior portrait photography contract. So that's the first one. The second major document, and it's a little bit more of a non-negotiable, but there is a negotiability part to it that I'll explain in a second, is the model release. We have general and a limited, and which I'll also explain in 1 second as well. But having this model release does two things. This is actually the client giving you, the photographer, one, permission for you to utilize their face in your marketing. While you retain the copyright ownership rights to the images themselves, you don't retain or receive any control over the publicity rights that those individuals in those images have for their face. Okay, so you're retaining copyright ownership, but what the model release does, it is the client giving you permission, or in this case, a legal guardian or an adult giving you permission for the use of the minor's face in the images. So anytime you're going to use the images in marketing, you need to have the model release in play with this permission. The second thing that a model release should do, and if yours does not do it, then you need to get the one that does, and this does something very good that can save you guys some money. What does it do? It waives the compensation claims that the model or the individual in the photograph may have against you for your use of the images in marketing. All right, so let's think about that for a second. Remember, the model, whether they're a model or not, it's just the person that's in the photo, has publicity rights to their face. You retain copyright ownership of the images. So you've already gotten permission for use to use their face in your marketing to promote your business. But now you're telling me they could get paid for it? Yes, they may have compensation claims against you. So this is the second thing that we're trying to combat. Just go ahead in the second prong of the model release, just as mine are drafted, to go ahead and waive the potential compensation claims that they can have later on down the line. Get it taken care of. You're bada bing, bada boom, you're good to go. Okay, so I want you guys to focus on the fact that you need to have a photography contract, you need to have a model release. Like I said a little bit ago, you should never shoot without the main contract, but you can shoot without a model release. because the model release isn't needed for you to actually do the session. The model release is only for you to utilize the images in marketing. So let's say that maybe you have a situation where there's a foster child or a domestic violence situation, or maybe it's just a private family, or maybe the parents have an occupation that they don't really want to have a social media presence. They may request that you either waive the model release completely or use a limited version of the model release. This is where I am of the camp that customer service is king. Okay, what you guys decide to do for your business is completely up to you. You can make the decision on whether you want to allow them to waive or to do a limited, whatever. The options are available here for you guys. But this is one of the key reasons that I recommend that the document of the contract and model release are broken out. That way, if you need to waive one, simply done. One and done, right? Another one is the legal best practices here. Should one of these documents, if they're separate, contract and model release, if one of these documents ever gets thrown out, your other one still stands, right? Super simple. And lastly, by breaking them out, you call a little bit more attention so that the clients are actually reading through and signing it. All right, so we get the contract and model release and all that good stuff signed before the session. Truck along, we're having fun, we do the session, and now it's time to sell or deliver digital images if they've purchased them, right? If you don't sell it, that's okay, stick with me, we'll circle back with a couple of documents that you need to have anyways. But this print release is a license that you are giving or selling, transferring, conveying, whatever you want to call it, to your client. The print release is the document that is giving the client the permission to reproduce digital files. You get to outline the terms in this document of what is best for your business policies, but this keeps it nice, clean, and clear of what they can do under a personal license. This is not commercial, this is personal. So that's print release. Now we can move on to the next document, and this is the permission to sell to a third party. This is not standard in the regular senior portrait photography contract, but you may have a situation where a parent or guardian is totally happy with you selling images to Grandma Sally or anyone else who is not party to the contract, who is not one of the contracted parties here. So this is the document that would give you the permission to do so. Since this is a personal portrait relationship and it's confined to only the people that are within the contract, this is a way to be able to make a couple extra sales by selling it to Great Aunt Sally in Seattle. And then lastly, when it's time for you guys to deliver the products, one of my strong recommendations is to have a product delivery agreement. This document is essentially the client signing off that they've inspected the products, they've counted all the digital files, that everything's there, they like it, it's all in good condition, and they're happy and your responsibilities have been fulfilled. They sign off, don't have to make big fanfare, just do it and you're done. This will help you should you ever have a client come back later on and try to assert a claim that they didn't get the right number of digital files when you know it was on there and then they want a refund. Or maybe they took that really expensive album, and I mean expensive in the cost of goods side as well, and maybe after you closed the door from delivering it, they dropped it on their way back to the living room, dented the cover, and then they're trying to have you replace it for free. Not saying you can't, just know that the product delivery agreement can help you legally and strategically in your business to kind of help safeguard you from any potential misuse or abuse from clients of maybe frivolous claims. Maybe they're legit, we don't know, but we're going to have it in there to ensure that we are all happy and have fulfilled our requirements under the contract. All right, so that kind of ends the legal client timeline between you and the client. We had the main booking contract, which is like the senior portrait photography contract, the general limited model release, pick one of those to use, the print release for transferring the license for the digital files, permission to sell to third parties, so Great Aunt Sally in Seattle can purchase some, and now, in the product delivery agreement, like we just talked about, but we're going to switch gears just real fast. This is more a unrelated third party. Maybe you want to provide hair and makeup artist services to your clients. One of the ways you can do it is have your client directly hire the hair and makeup artist. You're not in contract privity at that point. You don't have much control over that and don't really need to be party to any contract. However, if your collections provide a hair and makeup artist, or you want to have control over the hair and makeup artist and the aesthetic, you can contract this third party, this independent contractor person, or it can be an employee, but it's typically independent contractor, this third party to provide services of hair and makeup artists. You will pay them for it. That's the exchange. You want to create that relationship with the hair and makeup artist contract. It's going to outline things, like I just said. What services will they provide? What will you pay them? It will also have all the legal formalities that we talked about before and all that legal formation and structure should there ever be any issues that come down the line between you and the hair and makeup artist. But super important for you guys to have that to regulate and create that legal relationship between the two of you. I understand that all of this is really overwhelming. If you guys have any questions at all, please feel free to just submit through the contact form. Myself or my team are more than happy to help you. Just please remember that I'm here to try to help you guys get protected with all these articles, blogs, templates, everything available, because you never have an issue till you have an issue. I want you guys to stay protected.